All right, so the next section we're going to tackle is the about section, which is this area down here in the white space. And you'll notice as we get sort of moving along here, things are going to go faster and faster because, again, a lot of the foundation or the groundwork is set up, and we just really need to start plugging in some information now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our HTML. We're going to create a div for this, and I'm going to put it under the hero div, which is in here, just above the footer. And we'll just tab it over. Okay, and I'm going to make a div, and this class is going to be called about. And let's put some text in here. So let's just use an H1 tag since we already have it. Let's say, let's see here, nature is calling or something along those lines. Because again, this is supposed to be like an outdoorsy sort of site or whatever. And then what we're going to do with that, let's just put a break, a BR, which creates a space. If you don't remember what that is, that creates a space, which means we'll have a blank. And actually, let's just start with that because that'll be enough to actually start building, or at least start stylizing the main area of the site, this section here, which we're calling the about section. The way I envision is we're going to have the title, and then we're going to have two blocks, one for a picture and one for some text. You can customize this however you want. If I save it, it's going to do that. It's just going to put that in there. Just going to slap it in with the H1 setting that we created earlier, which is good. It looks all right, except it's boring and it doesn't, it's not, yeah, it just doesn't look polished. So we'll make it look nice. One tag that I like to use is in our HTML. Let's put a, after the break, let's put an HR, which stands for a horizontal rule. So if we save that, you're going to see a line up here. Okay, so that is a horizontal rule. It's going to look good after. It doesn't look good yet, but it will look good after. For now, let's just put that in. It's basically like an underline. You know when you underline some text and you have kind of a fancy separator? Okay, I use horizontal rules all the time. And we're going to stylize this div. Now we're going to make it look pretty. Let's go to our style, CSS. Let's affect the about class. And we don't need to change the position because right now it's static, and that's the way it should be. It's right under that picture. I think that's going to be fine. Let's adjust its margins though. Let's go margin left. Let's go 20 pixels because I think that's what we had set higher up. And margin right, let's set that to 20 pixels as well. Let's just save that. Okay, so that moves it in. It shortens the line as well, as you can see. Kind of cool. Let's adjust our padding for this one. And I want to adjust the padding on all sides, so I'm not going to do like padding left or anything. I'm just going to set that to 20. And let's adjust the height of this block. Let's make it 400. Same as the hero block. I think it was 400 as well. Yeah, you can see that up here. Let's save that. Now, nothing's really going to change much. You're not going to see too much of a change. But that is good. That's what I want. Is it's in there a little bit nicer. Nicer is not a word, sorry. Nice. It's in there nicely. Okay, and let's tweak the text itself because I feel like that black is really, I don't know. It's aggressive. It's a little too strong. So let's go into our class here. Let's do the about class H1 because that's the tag we're affecting. Let's change its color. we'll start at black, but let's maybe go with a gray, like a dark gray. I think that'll look a little bit better in this case. Something like that. Save it. Oh, that's not light enough. I want to go lighter than that, I think. So it's even more, yeah, something like that. So it's not just so harsh. Let's center it. So let's go text align. And let's go center. Should move it to the middle. Yeah, there it is. Nature is calling. Okay, so that's all right. We can work with that, I think. And we're going to tweak it now to make this section look a little prettier. Now you notice I can also scroll it. And you'll notice that when I scale this, ooh, one thing I don't like about this is I see a couple broken parts to this. Okay, that's not bad. It's not, I always check it like this, and I always like expand it and contract it to see how the page would look across different displays. It's not horrible. I'm not a fan of how long this line is here. So you know what I'm going to do is, rather than have a left and right of 20 pixels, let's change it to %. And what that means is that, and we talked about this earlier, is anytime you use %, we save that, yeah, that's much better. It's going to make the left margin and the right margin 20% of the available page size. So depending on how wide the page is, that's going to grow based on 20% of what the actual width of the entire page is. I like that. That's better. Okay, now we want 2 blocks. We're going to have a left block and a right block, one for the text and one for a picture. So let's do that. Let's go back to HTML. Let's create a div for this. Div class will be called maybe about left. That makes sense to me. And then we're not going to put anything in. Actually, let's just put some lorem ipsum. So we'll do paragraph tag, type lorem, and put that in. We've got some text. We can save that. It's just going to put some text down there underneath. And then let's put a div class for the right. So that'll be called about right. And again, guys, you know what? You should always, I always do that. Try to be as descriptive as you can, because it's going to make it so much easier when you have to troubleshoot what's going on with your site after. For this one, I'm going to put an image in here. And the source will be images. It's going to be the fall hike picture. Okay. And let's just set a height for that of 300. Now, once again, you can put percentages for the width, and that's going to work just fine as well if you don't want it at a set size. But in this case, I think I'm going to leave it at 300. And what it's going to do is it's going to literally just take that picture and slap it underneath. Okay, which in this case doesn't look great because it looks good at a small size. When you get larger, it really looks bad. So we actually want them to sit beside each other. Okay, so they're going to be next to one another. And so in order to do that, we have to go back to our CSS. And we're going to make some adjustments to our classes here. So first, let's start with the paragraph. That's this text here. So let's go about P. Let's make a line height adjustment, which we did higher up. Remember, that was the spacing between the text. Now then, this is just the designer in me that likes to have things consistent. So I'm going to put 25 pixels, which is the same that I had there. That'll space it out a little bit better. We can tweak that after maybe. And also, I don't know, we'll see what it looks like, but let's just align that text to the center as well. Save. Yeah, it's centered now. Okay, more importantly than messing around with the text and trying to make it look pretty is to get this to all line up properly. So let's go to about left, which is what we called it. And let's first of all have it, let me think about this. Let's create, well, let's just see if we float it to the left to start. I don't know if this is going to work in this case. I'm going to show you a different way of doing this. So now it's floating to the left, and it's not going to move, but we can copy this chunk, and we can also take our about right and make sure it's floating to the left as well. That should put them beside each other. No, it's not. Okay, that's okay. We're going to fix that. I'm going to show you something new that you can do to put objects beside each other if they don't happen to work, like what we're seeing right here. If you remember back up here, we had something called display. And display, it was way back up here, display block, which means that everything that comes in is in blocks. If you want parts of your div, okay, so position's not going to work in this case because these pieces inside of this div have to be positioned, all right? And position, it's not going to work. It's not going to work very well. So what we're going to do for this is we're going to use something called an inline block. Okay, and so what we'll do is go display inline block. It's going to be one of the choices. We'll do that for both of them. Display inline block. And what display will do is it will change the way that objects sit next to one another. That's still not going. I wonder, did I mistype here? The about right, about left. No, that definitely looks right. Everything looks good. Everything looks good. Okay, you know why? I think because I don't have the width of these boxes set just yet. You know what? That's probably why. I think they're just stretching to fill the whole page. So let's do this. Let's go for the left block. Let's go 50%. Okay, and for the right block, because it's a picture, let's maybe make it a little smaller, maybe 40% on that one. Save. Yeah, there we go. Now we got it. And so now because we have a width that's actually set, they get pushed next to each other. And one thing that looks horrible here is this div, this text is getting pushed down so far to the bottom. It looks absolutely horrible. If I put a little border on that, you're going to see why it's doing that. Let me just do that really quick. You don't have to necessarily follow this, but I just want to show you why that's happening. Let's put a black border so you can see what that div is doing. There it is. Technically, it looks centered, but when we get to a larger size, what it's doing is it's pushed basically down, as you can see. So to fix that, I think the solution would be to, let me see here. Let me think about this. Why don't we take this? Let's just take, we could leave that on for now until we fix it. Let's do this. Vertical align. Oh, I misspelled vertical. Vertical align to the top. And what that's going to do is it should push all of that content, to the top of the block, to the top of its space. All right, and so you can see that that looks better. Now the text is aligned to the top. We can take off the border now, I think, because we don't need that anymore. And now that sits next to that picture nicely, kind of. One thing that bugs me about it a little bit is that this text is butted up right up against the picture. It's not a lot of space. So what we could do, and again, this is just playing around and trying different things. Margin right is 20 pixels. That's going to give us a little more space there, you see? Spaces it out. All right. One other thing I think I'm going to do with this is I'm going to center the picture in the space that I have, I think. So we'll align its content. We're going to center it. That didn't make any difference, so maybe it was already center aligned. And let's make it look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. Let's round the corners of this picture. I like that better. So to do that, we're going to put dot about right. Oops, not a space. About right, and we're going to do the img tag, which is the image tag that we're using, which if you look back, that's this tag right here inside the about right. And let's just do that border radius. And let's go with 10 pixels just to round out the corners of that box. You can see now that that's a rounded box. If we go crazy, let's say I put like 100, I think we can go to a circle. Yeah, it starts to get close to a circle. We don't want to go that crazy. I'm just going to go 10. You can adjust that to whatever you think looks good, but now you can see that we have two divs sitting next to each other. I'm not happy with this line though. I'm not happy with that. You know what I'm going to do with that, I think, is I'm going to go back here. I'm going to take out the break underneath that. And instead, I'm going to put a break underneath it. And instead of above it, it's going to be underneath. And that'll just, yeah, that'll center that a little better because it was kind of goofy the way that it was before. Another thing that's kind of bugging me a little bit is the space here and here is not even. I would always rather have more space at the top than at the bottom. So what we'll do for that, this is going back a little bit, I probably should have fixed this earlier, is we're going to go to the hero class, which is up here, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to put in padding. I don't want to do margin because then I'm going to have white space. Padding, jeez, I can't type today. Padding top, maybe 70 pixels. I'm going to just try a number here, 70 pixels. Yeah, so you see what that did? That gave it more space. That kind of evened it out a little bit, and actually very close, not bad for a guess. And it will adjust as the page changes, but it's always going to have that same amount of space up here with the 70 pixel padding. I think that's much better. I think that's cool. Okay, so this is coming along nicely. Main area is done. We are now going to add the activity section in the next video, so stay tuned for that.